Appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. So with that, I think we've got enough members where we can get rolling. So I will go ahead and call this Sine Die Day Ways and Means meeting to order. Staff, please call the roll.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson. Here. Assemblyman Frierson. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Here. Assemblyman Hafen. Here. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Here. Assemblyman Levitt. Here. Assemblywoman Miller. Here. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Here. Assemblywoman Peters. Here. Assemblyman Roberts. Here. Assemblywoman Titus. Assemblywoman Tolles. Here. Assemblyman Watts. Here. Chair Carlton.
And I am here. So with that, we have our agendas in front of us. Respecting the folks that were on the agenda yesterday that were rolled to today. We will be addressing SB 341, SB 366, and SB 377. Those were from yesterday, so we'll go ahead and bring those up today. And then we have two that need to get out of here. They're within the budget world, which is SB 460 and SB 461. So those will be the next one up in the queue. And we'll try to move through these as quickly as possible. It's Sine Die Day. I don't need an explanation of how the earth cooled. I just need to know where the fiscal note is and what we need to do to get where we need to go. That's pretty much it. No explanation of complex issues. My brain can't handle any more complex issues. So with that, let's go ahead and start with SB 340. Oh, and my other announcement. So on day 119, I made my mistake. So I made it pretty far into the session. We moved a bill last night and did not put the amendment on it. Rather than pull it back, committee, do it again, send it back out. It was 380, SB 380. There was a proposed amendment. We had all agreed to it. My phone was doing its thing while we were doing it, but I don't pay attention to my phone when we're in work session. So rather than pull it back and do it again, I'm going to take that amendment, turn it into a personal amendment, do it on the floor so that we can keep things moving in the appropriate style. So we'll address the issue when we get to that level. It was SB 380. I believe the amendment dealt with some personnel that was needed and some other issues. It was agreed upon. It was presented by the Senate to us. It wasn't in my file, so it had ended up in a different file. So we made our first mistake on day 119, so I think we're okay. So with that, let's go ahead and open up the hearing on SB 341. And who do we have for SB 341? So do we not have anyone here for SB 341 at this time? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate. We're flexible. That's why we have a lot of work to get done. We're going to go ahead and move to SB 366. Do I have someone? I'm not going to say that. Do we have anyone here to deal with 366? Apparently we do not. Okay, so we'll give them a couple of tries, but 3 strikes and you are out. SB 377, is anyone here to present SB 377?
Good morning. I am here for 377.
Good job, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jessica Rowe. It's Jessica. Last name is Roe. I'm the Vice President of Programs at Raise the Future. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of SB 377. At Raise the Future, we believe that every young person deserves to go through life knowing they have a caring adult by their side. We work with our partners at DCFS, DFS, Washoe County, and other agencies to implement evidence-based programs that aim to connect our youth with the permanency they need to successfully navigate life's challenges. We know that for many youth in foster care, general recruitment is not as effective. These youth need the specialized child-focused recruitment efforts of an evidence-based program, like the model we implement through Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption's signature program, Wendy's Wonderful Kids. This model is proven to be up to 3 times more effective at serving youth who have been in foster care the longest, including teenagers, children with special needs, and large sibling groups. This child-focused model was designed to focus on youth who may otherwise emancipate from care without a family. To date, it is the only evidence-based recruitment model out there. So far this fiscal year, we have served over 200 youth and witnessed 18 adoption finalizations from youth on our caseloads. We continue to successfully connect these hardest to place youth and help them achieve permanency through this program. Our biggest need in other organizations like ours is securing an ongoing, sustainable source of funding, which is what the reinvestment of the adoption savings dollars could do. Funding would ensure uninterrupted service delivery for vulnerable youth who have experienced multiple placement disruptions and staff changes. It would ensure time to achieve permanence for Nevada's hardest to place, longest waiting youth. Long-term funding would ensure the support that newly placed youth and their families deserve, and that is vital to building their relationship and maintaining stability in their new home. Other states have used their federal adoption savings dollars successfully for these purposes. At Raise the Future, we are working to build permanent connections for Nevada's youth who are waiting in foster care by implementing the Wendy's Wonderful Kids model statewide. And we serve all eligible waiting youth in Nevada, no matter where they reside, with this program. Our work is being supported by funding from both our government partners in Nevada and our philanthropic partner, Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. It has the potential to dramatically change the life outcomes for Nevada's older youth in care by connecting them with permanence and the love, support, and guidance that one caring adult can provide. Not only is this the ultimate social safety net for those vulnerable youth, but our work has the potential to provide Nevada with a real return on their financial investment as well. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Senator Orenshaw.
Good morning, Chair Carlton. James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. Senate Bill 377 was one of our 10 recommendations from the Interim Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice. I served with Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, and I think that if it passes, there'll be more money available for this program that I really do believe helps kids in foster care.
Well, Senator, and I just need to clarify something. This wouldn't be more money. You would just be using the money that you'd already been given that hadn't been spent and rolling it into the next year. So it wouldn't be more money. It would just be use of dollars not reverting back to the general fund, if I understand the proposal correctly.
That's correct. And but holding on to that money and not having it revert, I think it can be put to a lot of good purposes.
We give it to agencies to spend in 2 years, and if they don't spend it, then we ask everyone to revert it and start over and show us your plan for the next 2 years. I mean, if there was a proposal in 19 to spend all this money and then in 21 it wasn't spent and you wanted to roll it to 22, what was the problem in 19 that the money didn't get spent? It's not that I don't understand where you're trying to go and that I think it's a very worthy cause, but we have a set of policies and procedures in this building about how money reverts back. And Senator, if we let everyone do this, we could probably skip every other session and not show up. There would be a motion for that right now. So we're not.
Don't give anyone any ideas, Chair.
So, but I'm just trying. I just want to understand what's going on. If there's an issue where you can't spend the money in 2 years, then maybe those dollars should go to a different budget and get that work done in a different budget, and we would be fine. So, what is the stumbling block on being able to spend those dollars every 2 years?
James Orenshaw, State Senate 21. Certainly, I think that this is unique compared to other budgets, Chair. And of course, I'm biased, having served on the Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice Committee, I think for the last 3 interims and having the, honor to chair at this last interim. But if I could reach out to, I think we have Mandy Davis from the agency. I think she might be able to answer that better than I can.
Good morning, Ms. Davis. You know how our process works, so you know where I'm coming from. So if you could shed a little light on this, that would be helpful.
Great. Good morning, Mandy Davis, Administrator for the Division of Child and Family. This bill would put us in compliance with a federal requirement. Currently, adoption subsidies that we pay to families who have adopted children out of the foster care system are paid with a portion of federal funds and a portion with state funds. since 2010, the age at which that federal funding eligibility went into place has been decreasing. So when it first started, it started with adopted kids at age 16 and older to incentivize states to really push to get those kids into a permanent placement before they aged out of the foster care system. Ever since then, that age has been decreasing. So every year we get a little bit more and more additional federal funds. Since 2015, there has been a federal requirement for us to reinvest the general fund savings that we were able to realize based on those decreasing ages that would make a child eligible for Title IV funds. The issue that we have is that every year, with this budget account in particular, we're required to revert back to state general funds, regardless of whether the savings were due to vacancy savings or due to this decreased eligibility for federal funds. So it's not really across the biennium the way it is in statute yet. It's at the end of every fiscal year, we have to revert those funds. The issue that we have is that the savings are realized over a federal fiscal year period is how we have to report it to the state. So we aren't even aware of the amount of savings that were realized over the previous year until we're into the next state fiscal year. So the way the bill is written, it would allow us to balance forward any of those savings that were realized in the prior state fiscal year to the next year. If those funds, if we could not reinvest all of those funds in that second year, then they would revert at the end of that second year. So it would cross by the way the bill is currently written, it would cross bienniums. It would be on an annual basis that we would be able to balance forward those funds and reinvest them the next year. I hope that answers your question.
And thank you, Ms. Davis. That helps me a little bit because we've had so many agencies come and just want to balance things forward. So I think the issue that I'm hearing is because of the federal year and the amount of savings and having to use those savings, the federal year crosses our biennium. So that's where the glitch is.
Mandy Davis, for the record, yes, that's where the glitch is. In order to meet the federal requirements to reinvest those savings, we would need the authority to balance it forward across every year. This wouldn't be blanket authority. We would not be balancing forward every dollar of savings, just those savings that are calculated based on the federal formula resulting from the adoption eligibility age decreasing every year.
Okay. So currently you're required to revert them every single year, not balance forward from year 1 to year 2?
Currently for this particular budget, that is the requirement.
Okay, so that's step 1. And then step 2 is the second year doesn't match the federal year. So if we add step 1 to step 2, you would never revert any money, you'd just keep rolling through. So how do we adjust this at the end of a biennium then?
Mandy Davis, for the record, the way the bill is currently written, it would balance forward every year. The biennium, the 2-year biennium does not come into account the way the bill is currently written.
And you broke up there, Ms. Davis, so it wouldn't revert at the end of the 2-year biennium because of the federal cycle?
The way the bill is currently written, it would revert at the end of the following year, regardless of whether that's the second or first year of a biennium. So the biennium cycle does not come into account the way the bill is currently written.
Okay, thank you. Probably should have done this one a little later in the day. So committee members, we see the problem, we see the glitch. It's the federal cycle versus our cycle, but we also have to make sure that eventually there's some accounting and everything gets reconciled in the long run. So we just want to make sure that we understand exactly what we're looking at. Totally supportive of the program, just figuring out how to maneuver the fiscal side of this program. So with that, are there questions from any other committee members at this time? Ms. Benitez-Thompson.
Thank you so much. So I guess as I'm reading the section 1 and the section 2 sub 4, the dollars would be specifically for it says here, so the adoption assistance programs and then any of the services in there. But I guess, would then the counties, our respective 3 child welfare jurisdictions have decisions about whether they land that money in the agency and their own adoption recruiter, or does it have to go out to a third party? And I guess a second question of that would be is I don't know as it stands right now if all the 3 jurisdictions equally use like Adopt US Kids or the Dave Thomas Foundation, in a way that just thinking about how this might play out, are we going to see one county do something substantially different than another county in terms of adoption recruitment activities?
Mandy Davis for the record. So the federal requirement is that any of those savings have to be reinvested in specific programs, including community-based programs. It can include community-based programs that assist families and children at risk of entering foster care. A portion of the funds have to be spent on post-adoption services, post-guardianship, to ensure there's a positive outcome and those kids do not return to foster care. And then adoption savings must be used to supplement and not supplant existing federal and non-federal funds used to provide these existing services. So Wendy's Wonderful Kids, the Dave Thomas Foundation would be an option. That is certainly an allowable use of these funds to be reinvested according to the federal requirements. Each of the 3 child welfare jurisdictions would have their own discretion for how they choose to best reinvest those funds. Currently, as the bill is written, it would give Washoe County, Clark County, and then DCFS overseeing the rural child welfare programs their own separate balance forward authority based on the savings that were realized in the previous year. So each child welfare jurisdiction would still operate independently in deciding how best to reinvest those funds.
Perfect. And I think right now when we come to that piece of our budget and we're looking at kind of the number of adoptions that were completed and finalized over the past 2 years for each region, and then we're discussing the budget piece for it. This might be more of a question for our staff. I guess, would any of that change, or then would we have reporting back on the rollover dollars? Like because right now we can kind of see those when we're working on those budgets.
Currently, as the bill was written, the reporting back would likely be in the form of our next biennial budget request. If there is the need or the desire to have the division report back to an interim committee reporting on how those funds are being used or how much savings are realized, we'd be more than happy to accommodate that.
And Madam Chair, James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21, 2 and 3 to Majority Leader Benitez Thompson. I think someone from Clark County was going to be here to talk about the program in Clark County too.
Senator Orenshaw will get to that once we figure out this part. So
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I guess I need to go back to, and the budget process will help us get to that point also because we will be reviewing it. So if we did go down this road of a letter of intent would definitely be needed, and we haven't done many of those this year, but I think this would definitely need a letter of intent moving forward as far as the reporting goes. But the phrase "no restrictions," so basically this money could be used for just about anything. And I think that gives folks a little bit of a pause too. We understand where you want to focus the dollars, but we can't make decisions based on the people who are there now. We make decisions based on how the program will run in the future and where will those dollars actually land to serve these families and children. So can you give me an idea if that term "without restriction" in there, that pretty much opens it up to spend it on just about anything you would need to spend it on. So can you give me some ideas of how you would address that? Where would those dollars be going?
Thank you, Mandy Davis for the record. And I think the bill clarifies in section 1 that we need to identify the savings required under the 42 section United States Code section 673 and spend those in compliance with that section of the US Code. I also want to just clarify that typically when an agency balance forwards funds from one year to another, we need to do it through a work program. So I think that's where you'll see the calculations for savings realized in the prior year a reconciliation of funds that were not spent that we would need to give back, and then a plan for how to spend those in the upcoming year for how we would reinvest those. So I think the interim finance committee or the governor's finance office, depending on the threshold level for the work program, would see those calculations in the reconciliation to ensure that only funds that were realized as savings are being balanced forward, and then to approve or not approve our spending plan for how to reinvest those savings in the following year.
Questions from other committee members at this time? Mr. Lovett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, from what I understand, this is a timing issue. And often when we think about reversion of funds that were allocated in the previous fiscal year, it's because there's a certain project or something that was happening that's in the process but is not come due for payment until after that fiscal year ends. And so the reversion of the funds often would be utilized for that, or you would take those funds that you're saving and quickly find a way to spend them. And sometimes it's not the most effective way to utilize that money when you have something that's coming up, that's in the queue but not come due yet. Is that something that you guys are realizing at this moment?
Thank you for the opinion. For the record, the majority of our savings that are realized are due to vacancy savings. For the most part, we do have savings for other operating expenses or other expenses that didn't come in as budgeted, and those funds would not be considered as part of this bill. The only authority that would be considered to be balanced forward as part of this bill is the subsidy payments paid to adoptive families for kids who are eligible for more federal funds than were originally anticipated. So any additional federal funds that come in that the state was able to realize savings would be balanced forward to the following year. And this would put us, so just to clarify, this is a federal requirement that states, in order to receive these additional federal funds, the federal government lowered the eligibility requirements on federal funds that we could realize. So this bill would put us into compliance with those federal requirements. Currently, we've been out of compliance since 2015 when this first became a requirement of states.
Well, Mr. Levitt, you asked a very good Ways and Means question. It's sinking in. Good job. With that, committee members, any other questions at this time? Seeing none, Senator Orenshaw, did you have another presenter, or I'm getting ready to go ahead and open it up?
Chair Carlton, I think someone from Clark County, I thought either Joanna Jacob or Alex Ortiz was going to speak to the bill.
Okay, well, with that, we'll hold on for just a moment. We're not going to hold. There is no holding time today. We're going to go ahead and proceed and do support, opposition, and neutral, but we're not going to process it until I get a couple more answers. Okay? Thank you very much, because this is totally out of the norm of what we would normally be doing, but there are some safeguards built in. So I do appreciate that those safeguards are built in. So with that, this is the hearing on Senate Bill 377. We'll go ahead and open it up. Is there anyone in the room in support of Senate Bill 377? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none. Broadcast services. Is there anyone in support of Senate Bill 377?
If you would like to testify in support on SB 377, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 978. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Chair Carlton, members of the committee. Joanna Jacob. I am actually on the phone from Clark County, JOANNAJACOB. We are in support of this bill, Chair Carlton. We do work with Ms. Rowe in this program and with the state, and we would support any letter of intent or any measures that you feel are necessary to put in place in the budget cycle, because this is actually very important to Clark County to have this flexibility. So because it really does come down to the timing of the program, and we do some really great work with Ms. Rowe in Clark County, and so we are in favor of this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jacobs. So the next person on the phone line that would be in support?
Caller with the last three digits, 759. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller 759, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning. This is Councilman Brian Knudsen, KNUDSEN. I represent the City of Las Vegas Ward 1, but more importantly, I'm an adoptive father. And I've been working with the Child Welfare Services in the state and the county, Clark County, for several years now. The conversation, committee chairwoman, that you've had, I think is robust. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak in support of this bill. The funding available and the conversation is all useful for children who are most underserved in Clark County and in the state of Nevada. What Ms. Rowe said and the conversation from representatives from DHHS over the last several years have been incredibly supportive of this type of measure. And for those committee members, I urge your support, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your service to our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Next person on the phone line in support, please.
Caller with the last three digits, 878. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Justin Jones, JUSTIN, Thank you, Chair Carlton and members of the committee. I serve on the Clark County Commission and testifying here on behalf of Clark County. In addition to Ms. Jacobs, I serve as the chair of the Department of Family Services, DHHS, Policy and Fiscal Affairs Committee, which considers fiscal issues like these involved in SB 377. As Ms. Jacobs stated, Clark County has the largest child welfare and foster care programs in the state, and this is of utmost importance to Clark County. SB 377 will provide critical funding for child welfare programs and help provide homes for needy children, while bringing us into further compliance with federal law. I've had the opportunity to work with WWK and Ms. Rowe's organizations, and they've been great partners for Clark County and are able to identify adoptive placements that we would not otherwise be able to fulfill for the kids in our system. On a personal note, my wife and I have had the opportunity to adopt 2 amazing kids. SB 377 will help ensure that more families will have that same opportunity as we did. Accordingly, I'd ask for your support for SB 377.
Caller with the last three digits, 069. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, everyone. This is Andre Wade, ANDRE, WADE, State Director for Silver State Equality. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I just want to call in quickly my support, having done this work in the past in Clark County and worked with Ms. Rowe in the past. I know the difficult challenges that she has. That program is very important, and lack of funding has always been sort of an issue that needed to be addressed. And so this is a really great way to do so. So in full support of this measure. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, and thank you, Broadcast Services, for moving on without me. With that, next caller, please.
Chair Carlton, that was the last caller in support.
Thank you very much. We will now go to opposition in the room. Is there anyone in opposition? Seeing none. No one on Zoom. Is there opposition on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 377, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 653. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair Carlton. This is Dora Martinez. I meant to call in support. I'll make it real quick if I may proceed, please.
Of course. Go ahead, Ms. Martinez. We understand.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning to you, Chair, and your awesome Ways and Means. The Nevada Disability Action Coalition do support SB 377 because we do understand some children are left behind who have disability. And let me tell you, we are here. I want people to know that there is hope and help for people who are children who are disabled. We are here. Please feel free if you need help for those parents to mentor their kids and be a good self-advocate and a productive part of the productive society. Hit me up. And thank you so much. Have a good morning.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and thank you for being such a wonderful advocate for folks this whole session. You have done an excellent job. Thank you. So with that, is there anyone in opposition on the phone line?
Chair, there are no callers in the queue for opposition.
Thank you very much, Broadcast Services. We'll come to the room for neutral. Is there anyone in neutral in the room? Seeing none. Is there anyone in neutral on Zoom? Seeing none. Anyone in neutral on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in neutral on SB 377, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Senator Orenshaw, did you have any closing comments? About 2 sentences worth.
Please, James Orenshaw, State Senate 21. Please pass this bill. Thank you.
Excellent
I think
job.
it is a good bill.
Thank you. Oh, you went over. All righty, thank you. So we're just going to keep moving on through. So we are going to go ahead and go to SB 460 was the next one we need to process, and Majority Leader and I need to leave in about 10 minutes for a conference committee. And I will be handing the gavel over to Vice Chair Monroe Moreno. But let's go ahead and try and do one more. SB 460, please. I believe that's a fiscal person. So we'll let Ms. Kaufman get ready and then we'll proceed. Ms. Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 460 adds back expenditures that were proposed in the executive budget but eliminated based off of budget recommendations. And I'll try to walk the committee through the various recommendations that are included in the bill. Section 1 provides a general fund appropriation of $389,399 to the community-based living arrangement services. Section 2 provides the Department of Health and Human Services rural clinics budget accounts for psychiatric services, $486,321 in each year. Section 3 of this bill provides Washoe County Child Welfare Budget Account, $892,500 in fiscal year 2022 and $805,000 in 2023 for fiscal incentive programs. Section 4 of this bill provides Clark County Child Welfare Budget for incentive programs to $2,677,500 in fiscal year 2022, $2.4 million in fiscal year 2023. And Section 5 of this bill provides for problem gambling $176,000 in each year of the biennium. Section 6 provides family planning, $621,707 in both fiscal years. In Section 7, it provides Child, Youth, Family Administration Budget Account for the Nevada Partnership and Training Contract, $64,963 in fiscal year 2022, and $65,106 in 2023. And Section 8 provides Southern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services, $76,871 in fiscal year 2022, $78,987 in fiscal year 2023. And Section 9 of this bill provides Department of Health and Human Services chronic disease budget, $2.5 million in each year of the biennium. And Section 10 of this bill provides the Division of Public and Behavioral Health for the Department of Health and Human Services, Healthcare Finance and Regulation budget, $61,205 in fiscal year 2022 and $63,853 in 2023 for community-based living arrangement services. In Section 11, it provides the Division of Public and Behavioral Health of the Department of Health and Human Services, $1,089 in fiscal year 22 and $2,129 in 2023 for replacement equipment. Section 12 provides the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Nevada Humanities budget, $25,000 in each fiscal year. Section 13 provides the Department of Education's Nevada Institute on Teaching and Educator Preparation, $750,000 in each year of the biennium. Section 14 provides the Nevada System of Higher Education Cooperative Extension Services, $213,771 in each year of the biennium. Section 15 provides the legislative fund for personnel costs associated with 2 security scanner positions, $124,182 in fiscal year 2022 and $129,272 in fiscal year 2023. Section 16 of this bill provides the legislative fund $302,596 in 2022 and $5,925 in fiscal year 2023 for the cost of 3 positions for the Senate interim. And Section 17 provides that during a special session and with the approval of the Secretary of the Senate and the Chief Clerk of the Assembly, an employee of the legislature whose services is required may be paid at an hourly rate commensurate to that of a daily rate specified under subsection 1 as applicable as compensation for overtime in the same manner as provided to employees of the Legislative Council Bureau. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Kaufman, and I should have prefaced your comments by warning the committee that this is what's known as the add-back bill. So all those meetings you sat in and we had to make cuts, not knowing where we were exactly at that moment in time, and the tough decisions that everyone had to make in readjusting where we are at this time. There are times when you can actually do an add-back bill towards the end of session. The way the Economic Forum and our budget closings work, it's very difficult for us to make those decisions and do add-backs and actually get them into the budget. So this is how we adjust for those cuts that were made earlier in the session. So if anyone has any particular questions on any of them, I know the committee had real reservations on the child welfare budgets, and we see those dollars added back in as far as child welfare goes. A lot of these are the Health and Human Services cuts that we had to make. The Nevada Institute for Teaching and Educator Preparation was an important one that we wanted to do, but we weren't sure if we could, so that one has been added back in. The Nevada System of Higher Education, the Cooperative Extension. We have cut Cooperative Extension a number of times, and with their small budget, those cuts can sometimes be very drastic. So those dollars are added back in. And then the legislative fund and the issues that need to be dealt with there. So we are in a position to look at all these different components. Are there any questions from committee members on any of the individual components of the bill? I don't believe I see any questions. You should all be very familiar with these, especially if it hurt when you voted on it. So, not seeing any questions from any committee members. No one would be presenting on this other than Ms. Kaufman, so we will go ahead and open this up for our standard hearing process. Is there anyone here in the room in support of SB 460?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Bradley Mayer, partnered Argentum Partners, for the record, BRADLEYMAYER, representing the Southern Nevada and Washoe County Health Districts today, and we just wanted to express our appreciation for Section 9. 1 in 4 Nevada youth are currently vaping, and half have tried vaping. So we're quite appreciative that we have this vaping and tobacco prevention money put back in the budget so that we can do that important work. And I thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to our state.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair Carlton. Members of the committee, Maggie O'Flaherty with McDonald Carano on behalf of the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. Mr. Mayor said it very well, so I won't repeat it. Just want to echo those sentiments and thank you all for those funds being put towards a great cause.
Thank you very much. So with that, is there anyone else in the room in support of SB 460? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none. Broadcast services? Anyone on the phone line in support of SB 460?
If you would like to testify in support on SB 460, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 500. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Chair Carlton, for the record, my name is Helen Foley, and today I am representing the American Heart Association. Last session, when vaping products were taxed at the same rate as other tobacco products, there was a $5 million appropriation for advertising and public education programs for the biennium. Unfortunately, because of COVID, these were not added into the budget. So we really appreciate you doing this add back for these types of important programs, and we hope to get a permanent place in the budget next session. We certainly appreciate your efforts on this and realize that e-cigarettes by youth damages their lungs, it leads to addictions, and it can slow brain development. This is extremely important, and we thank you so much for your vote.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 978. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Vice Chair Monroe Moreno. I'm sorry that Chair Carlton may have left the meeting. I'm on the phone. Joanna Jacob from Clark County, JOANNAJACOB. I just actually wanted to say thank you to this committee, Vice Chair Monroe Moreno, and to Chair Carlton, at least put it in the record, for continuing to champion Clark County child welfare. This was a tough cut for us in the budget cycle. We use the cuts that are being restored, the funding that is being restored today to meet our obligations under the federal program improvement plan, and we use these funds to help recruit foster families, to provide placement stability, teach foster parent skills, and it's going to make a real impact. We are facing a structural deficit heading into the budget cycle in Clark County due to some stagnation of federal and state funding, and so restoration of this funding is really critical. I just want to say thank you on day 120 for this restoration to the hard work of this committee in helping Clark County Department of Family Services. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in. Broadcast, do we have any other callers?
This is the last caller.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 720. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Chair Carlton, Vice Chair Monroe Moreno, and members of the committee. For the record, Kerry Harrington, that is Herington. I'm Executive Director of Nevada Cancer Coalition, and today I'm also representing the Nevada Tobacco Prevention Coalition as a lead agency, as well as all of our healthcare partners across the state. We are wholeheartedly in support of SB 460, specifically Section 9, which will continue our state's efforts to reduce and prevent youth e-cigarette use and vaping across our state. And more importantly, on behalf of my daughters who testified last session, and all of the teens who have shared their stories with you in the past number of months about our state's youth vaping epidemic, thank you very much for hearing SB 460, and we certainly urge its important passage. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that was our last caller in support. So we will move on to opposition. Do we have any opposition joining us here in the room? Seeing none. Do we have any opposition on Zoom? Seeing none. Broadcast, do we have any callers on the line who wish to provide testimony in opposition for Senate Bill 460?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 460, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, we have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we'll move on to neutral. Do we have anyone joining us here in the room who wish to provide testimony in neutral? Seeing none. Do we have anyone joining us by Zoom who would like to testify in the neutral? Seeing none. Do we have anyone on the phone lines who would like to provide testimony in the neutral on Senate Bill 460?
If you would like to testify in neutral on SB 460, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, we have no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the testimony, but I know we have members with questions. Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. As you know, we are all been very busy at this point in time in session, and I just don't want to overlook a question that I had, and I appreciate the opportunity to circle back. So I apologize for jumping up like that because I thought you were going to close the hearing, so I appreciate your patience. This question is actually for staff, and Sarah in particular probably, who would have these numbers. Number one, the initial testimony or presentation by our chair said that this was just really a reinstatement of things that we had already given in the past that we took away during a special session. And so that's my first question is, what is the total amount? Because I'm trying to do this and see how much do we actually have in this bill that we are reinstating?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Assemblywoman Titus. Just to clarify, these were cuts specific to reductions that were made in the executive budget, not necessarily within the special session. There was a total of $9.3 million in fiscal year 2022 and $8.3 million in 2023 proposed through this bill to be added back.
Okay, then for me, there's another addition, and I need to know what this would be. On this bill, on line number 7 from section 17, it's actually new language, not just an add back, and it's number 7. And it says then, and not that they may or may not deserve it, the overtime in the same manner is provided for employees of LCB. It would be all the employees of the legislature. So do we have a figure on what that might be? Because that's an addition to everything else in this bill is what I'm seeing.
Madam Vice Chair, through you to Assemblywoman Titus, I don't have an actual amount for that. It was more of a policy decision. During the 31st and 32nd special session, staff were brought in, and they were brought in at straight time. So even though they were working overtime for the clerical staff that were in both the Senate and Assembly chambers, they were only being paid straight time. This would allow them to be paid commensurate with what they get paid during legislative session, which would provide them with overtime, which is time and a half.
And thank you for that, just for clarification. But we don't have a number yet because we haven't seen any died, so we don't know how many. Well, we do know. We'll hopefully be here. We'll stop at midnight, but so we don't have a calculation on that number.
Madam Vice Chair, through you to Dr. Titus. This is prospectively, so if there is a special session coming up and it's determined upon that particular point in time, how many days, if there are a number of staff that are brought in. So this is purely prospectively.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I wanted to make sure it was, we weren't obligating past hours, so thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for the question.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any other clarifying questions before I close the hearing for Senate Bill 460? Seeing none with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 460, and you will be seeing that one again before the end of the day, so keep that bill close. And if we will hold on one moment, and I'll let you know where we're moving to. Okay, members, we are going to go back to the top of our schedule. We have joining us in the audience now Senator Spearman. So we are going to go back to the first bill that we said we would hear today, which was Senate Bill 341, and invite the senator to the dais. Welcome to Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. First, I'll apologize for not being here early, but we had a ceremony honoring the fallen early this morning, and I needed to be there. So,
You understand?
So I won't go through the whole bill unless I really need to. I think you all may have read it, but Senate Bill 341 is really a collaborative effort on the part of Tina Dortch and the members of the Office of Minority Health and Equity. There are several things that happened that should not have happened in the pandemic, and there were several things that should have happened but did not. And so what this bill is really designed to do is to address the systemic disparities of healthcare located in BIPOC communities. Senate Bill 341 as amended makes various changes related to health care. Specifically, it requires the Division of Public and Behavioral Health of the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for available grants to address disparities in health care. Creates the Minority Health and Equity account to hold money for the Office of Minority Health and Equity within DHHS. And up until this point, it's really been a matter of Tina trying to find grants and other things to keep the office afloat. But I think that it is imperative that we dedicate funding as it comes in to that office because it's so very, very important. It requires the Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy of DHHS to require managed care organizations that provide behavioral health services through Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program to implement a plan to ensure such services are provided in a culturally competent manner. And this is in there because one of the things that did not happen for BIPOC communities during the last year, there was no dedication, no specific dedication to making sure that the mental and emotional health of members of those communities were being met. Section 18 concerns certain provisions relating to kidney disease prevention and education task force. We took that out as mandatory, and working with nephrologists, not only here in the state but across the country, to make sure we address kidney disease prevention. While we were looking at trying to make the bill better, we also recognized the fact that there were some other task force that had not really been funded the way that they should have been. Rare diseases, we've got bills by Senator Neal Lupus and several other bills. So what we're really trying to do in 341 is address a number of issues. I see Ms. Dortch and I see Dwayne on the screen, and I will turn it over to them if it's okay with you.
Thank you so much. I know you've had a policy hearing on this, so I'd like to just get to the fiscal aspects of it. If Mr. Young and Ms. Peak would like to, whichever one would like to go first to discuss the fiscal aspects of it. I know we're looking at the second reprint, and in the original bill, there was fiscal notes, and those have been adjusted. If you could just speak to the adjustments and how we got there.
Dwayne Young, Deputy Administrator for the Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy. The Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy does not have any fiscal notes on this. This would not be a cost to the division, the bill as written and the amended version. And we believe that this is good policy that will help us move to a place where the vendors and contractors and their subcontractors will actually reflect the workforce and the population of Nevada that they're serving. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Young, and you got a nap like the rest of us. So good to see you this morning. Ms. Peak.
Good morning, Vice Chair. Thank you so much. So we did have a fiscal note on the bill. With reprint number 2, you'll see that with Nellis, we have reposted a fiscal note that now reads at 0. So we just want to greatly appreciate Senator Spearman, Senator Ratty, and the other folks that helped us work on this bill. We are excited to implement it with a $0 fiscal note.
Thank you so much. And I believe we have the Minority Health employee on with us, Ms. Dortch. Good morning. I know you joined us last night and you've been patiently Zooming in and we kept passing over you. So good morning. Is there anything you want to add to today's testimony?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair and committee members. As you mentioned, I am the manager of the Office of Minority Health and Equity. For the record, my name is Tina Dortch, D-O-R-T-C-H. And if I may, I'd like to thank Senator Spearman, not only for her support of the office and our advisory committee, but for her service to this country and for her honoring those who did not make it back. I also want to then point out that not only do provisions of this bill support us at a critical point, that critical point has to do with the work that we're doing to action the governor's proclamation proclaiming systemic racism a public health crisis. And that is through actions of that steering committee, which was convened by the director of the Department of Health and Human Services, in addition to provisions of this bill that would allow us to cultivate a less biased and more representative workforce, Madam Chair. And that we'd also have promotional opportunities for much more and many more diverse employees. And as that department workforce does then change to become more inclusive, its service delivery methods are going to conversely become more culturally competent and better received by a larger subpopulation of our community. And Madam Chair, in closing, I just want to emphasize that we are at a pivotal moment, and that with distinguishing the Department of Health and Human Services as an intentional architect of this state's health, not just one person, but all people will be able to benefit and not be left behind, regardless of the demographic that they identify with. And that the 81st session, the session that we're here today closing out, that you can make it possible to re-engineer systemically discriminatory systems as a means to improve delivery methods and also apply that culturally competent care that's going to be measurable, and we can improve health disparities and measure them. So lastly, the passage of system changing legislation like Senate Bill 222, which allows for the embedding of diversity liaisons within state agencies. Well, that was just one step, Madam Chair and committee. But to achieve that bigger outcome I just pointed out requires provisions such as those contained in this bill. Thank you for my time.
Thank you so much. Did you have any other comments before I go to questions from the committee, Senator? Awesome. All right, members, do you have any questions for the senator? Seeing none, then we will open it up for testimony. Do we have anyone here in the room who would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 341?
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jeanette Beltz. I'm here representing the National Kidney Foundation. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. We're excited to be here honoring those who sacrificed so that we could be here on this day to work. I am testifying in support specifically of Section 2.5, which authorizes the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to apply for grants to support the identification, understanding, and mitigation of health disparities relating to kidney disease, and to work with an advisory committee to establish a sustainable plan to increase education and awareness of the kidney disease. In Nevada, 10.7% of all adults have diabetes and 32.2% have high blood pressure. The prevalence of diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension is higher in African Americans who develop kidney disease at a rate of nearly 4 to 1 compared to Caucasians, while Hispanics have a 30% higher rate of developing kidney failure. Among 19.5% of people waiting for a kidney in Nevada, they identify as African American, but in 2019, only 7% of them received a kidney. I could go on, but in the interest of time, it is for these reasons that we support Section 2.5 of SB 341 to address these disparities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else here in the room who would like to provide testimony in support? Seeing none, do we have anyone joining us by Zoom who would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 341? Seeing none, broadcast, do we have anyone joining us by telephone who would like to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 341?
If you would like to testify in support on Senate Bill 341, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 069. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning. This is Andre Wade, ANDREWADE, State Director for Silver State Equality and member of the Nevada Office of Minority Health and Equities Advisory Committee. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Silver State Equality, and we're in support of SB 341. I have testimony on NELIS, so in the interest of time, I would just like to refer you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 519. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, for the record, my name is Kelly Goss, Kelly. Last name Goss, G as in George, OSS as in Sam. Thank you, Vice Chair Monroe Marino and Chair Carlton and committee members. I'm here on behalf of Dialysis Patient Citizens, a nonprofit patient advocacy group that does advocacy and education work representing patients with kidney disease. And we are in support of the bill, particularly Section 2.5 that addresses kidney disease. We are very hopeful this bill can help reduce disparities, improve patient outcomes, and lower overall healthcare costs. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 653. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Vice Chairman Monero. This is Dora Martinez, DORA-MARTINEZ. I am here and calling in support of SB 341. We are the Nevada Disability Action Coalition, and we support this bill. Thank you, and have a great morning.
Thank you. Next caller.
Vice Chair, that was our last caller in support.
Thank you so much. Then we'll move on to opposition. Do we have anyone here in the room who wishes to provide testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 341? Seeing none. Do we have anyone joining us by Zoom who would like to testify in opposition of 341? Seeing none. Do we have anyone joining us by telephone who would like to provide testimony in the opposition for Senate Bill 341?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 341, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, we have no callers in opposition on the line.
Thank you so much. Then we will move on to neutral. Do we have anyone here in the room that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Senate Bill 341? Seeing none. Do we have anyone joining us virtually on Zoom that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position? Seeing none. Do we have anyone joining us by telephone that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position?
If you would like to testify in neutral on Senate Bill 341, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, we have no callers in neutral on the line.
Thank you so much. Senator Spearman, do you have any closing comments before I close the hearing for Senate Bill 341?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just want to say, although I appreciate the comments of gratitude for me, the ones who really deserve the gratitude are those who didn't come back, pay the ultimate sacrifice. I was glad to serve with them, lost some friends. And the only reason I continue to serve is because they can't. This will help not only BIPOC communities, but I know that it will help veterans who did not retire but don't have adequate insurance for a lot of things. So I hope you pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go far. I know you have a few bills on the agenda, so we are going to pull up next SCR 10, and I'm just going to grab the folder.
SCR 10 is a real simple bill. Oh, sorry. And I forgot to put my name on the record.
Okay, we will open the hearing on SCR 10 and welcome Senator Spearman back.
Thank you. For the record, I am Senator Pat Spearman. I represent Senate District 1 in North Las Vegas. SCR 10 is a very simple bill. From a standpoint of national security, we have to do more in terms of cultivating and developing our national renewable energy resources. And although we've done a good job with solar and some of the others, we've neglected to look at what the opportunities are available to us through hydrogen. Madam Vice Chair, when I originally bought this bill, what I did not know is that there is already a company in North Las Vegas, Air Liquide, who has invested an initial $200 million in hydrogen. Many parts of the military are using hydrogen. They're using hydrogen to replace some of the vehicles that were used in combat. Hydrogen has the ability to be used as appliances, several other things. I think that, and I want to stress this because I know there's been some consternation. This is a study, and studies mean that you study it, and the study will go where the study goes. And I have Dr. Folge from UNR on. With your permission, I'd like to get him to say a few words.
Thank you, Senator. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Jim Falls. For the record, I'm the Nevada State Geologist and Director of the Nevada Bureau of Mines and Geology. The Bureau is the state's geological survey and a public service unit of UNR. Our mission focuses on unbiased scientific analyses of the geology, geologic hazards, and natural resources for the entire state. I support SCR 10 because it calls for the study of renewable energy resources in Nevada. As we all know, the nation stands at a crossroads in transitioning our energy grid to mitigate the impacts of climate change. And Nevada is well poised to become a leader in that transition. We have a wealth of natural resources that can help with that transition. And it's important to understand the location and extent of those resources so that we can make wise decisions on any development, such that that development is environmentally sound and sustainable. And this resolution will help us study those resources to achieve those goals. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this morning. And thank you for Senator Spearman for putting forth this resolution.
Thank you so much. Senator Spinnerman, anything?
I think we have Mr. Steve Polakalis on the line. And maybe not. I'll just say this and then stand for questions. Every major automobile manufacturer has some prototype of a hydrogen vehicle. And during the testimony on the Senate side, we had the executive director for the International Automobile Manufacturers that talked about it. Some may see hydrogen fuel cells as being in competition. It's not. It's not in competition with EVs. It's another option. It's like peanut butter and jelly. This is a bill that will allow us to study other natural resources that we have that we can put to our renewable energy portfolio. Some of you may remember that last session Senator Brooks sponsored a bill and we passed it and the governor signed it for 50 by 30. And what that really means is that we have 2023, 25, 27, and by the time we get back here in 29, we better have some type of a plan to achieve that or we won't make it. And this is another attempt to add to the comprehensive planning of renewable energy. During the Iraq War, 6 out of every 10 deaths were a result of convoys carrying fuel. And those deaths weren't neat. They were usually by improvised explosive devices. And I just, even before I knew I would be here, I've just made it a mission for me outside of elected office to make sure that we get something in place here in our country that will not require our men and women to be blown up and their families to receive pieces of their bodies back because we were guarding fossil fuels. That's all.
Thank you. And I see that there is a mock-up. Could you just quickly walk us through the mock-up, why that, the changes in the mock-up from the first reprint that we have before us?
So the mock-up is really simple. I'm sorry, I closed my computer. Mock-up is really simple. It takes everything out except hydrogen, the study of hydrogen. And that's what's in the bill now. That's what the mock-up is.
Perfect. Members, I believe you have the mock-up in front of you. Any questions for Senator Spearman? Assemblyman Watts?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this forward and for all your support for renewable energy and clean energy development. So I see that there's a lot that's been included in the resolution in terms of looking at different aspects of hydrogen development. And I see references to green hydrogen in a couple of places, including in the revised mock-up, one looking at challenges and opportunities, one relating to green hydrogen associated with abandoned mines. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion around how hydrogen is developed, and the energy sources that are used to make it can be clean or not clean, carbon intensive or not carbon intensive. So I was just wondering if you and any, if Mr. Folds wants us to add anything as well, could speak to, are you looking at all sources of hydrogen generation, or is the intent generally to try and focus on low carbon generation and utilization of hydrogen? So in other words, is the resolution really aimed at green hydrogen, or is it all options related to hydrogen fuel?
Thank you for the question, Assemblyman, through you, Madam Vice Chair, to Assemblyman Watts. The study will explore everything. Green hydrogen has been in use here in Nevada, I guess for about the last 40 years. Started at Hoover Dam. I don't know if Mr. Danny Thompson was able to get back, but he worked on that with IBW. As an academician, it's impossible to eliminate anything from a study. When you're doing research, you have to look at everything. Otherwise, you come up with an opinion and not stated fact. So it will include all areas. What does hydrogen look like? All facets of it. That's what it's about. Dr. Folds?
Yes, I have to admit I am not an expert in hydrogen, but I agree that all aspects should be reviewed and studied to be as comprehensive as possible.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I see that in a couple of the early resolutions, it discusses enabling the operation of zero emission vehicles and the deployment, zero emission vehicles. So I may just be missing it looking through all the elements, especially in the mock-up language. But I hope that as we look at the economic and regulatory aspects, that we also look at the emissions and environmental profiles of different different options for producing hydrogen. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that on the record.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, through you to Assemblyman Watts. That's exactly what a study does. It looks at everything. Nothing's left off the table.
Thank you. Members, any other questions before we go to testimony? Seeing none, thank you, Senator. I will move to testimony in support of SCR 10. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations. This morning here representing IBEW 1245. And IBEW's point is that, as with many other sectors of our clean energy portfolio in Nevada, when it is first studied, then the analysis that results allows development of jobs here in Nevada, good, well-paying jobs. So we support this study. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexandria Canita with the law firm Lewis Roca. On behalf of the Alliance of the Automobile Manufacturers, we support this bill with the amendments for a clean hydrogen study. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Rusty McAllister, representing Nevada State AFL-CIO. For the reasons stated by the previous speakers, especially for the creation of jobs for members that I represent, we're in support of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else here in the room that would like to join us for testimony in support? Seeing none, then we will move to Zoom. Do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to testify in support of SCR 10? Seeing none, do we have anyone on the telephone?
If you would like to testify in support on SCR 10, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 517, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Vice Chair Monroe Moreno. For the record, Danny Thompson, DANNY-THOMPSON. I have to admit that I probably am the closest thing to an expert that you're going to find on hydrogen, in that hydrogen has been produced, and green hydrogen, to Assemblyman Watts' question, has been produced continuously since 1940 in Henderson at the BMI complex through the electrolysis process. It's green hydrogen because the power to build that facility came directly from Hoover Dam. As you know, it was a war effort, and after the war, the government sold the different parts of the plant off to different industries. The part that had the electrolysis was sold to a chemical company who produced chlorine in the cells. I worked at the age of 19 as a cutout electrician. Those cells operated at 600 volts and 13,000 amps. You had to cut them out live, and in 1969, there was no such thing as OSHA, so it was a little bit interesting to say the least. And the cells would produce, because you would, a little chemistry lesson, if you took salt water, H2O NaCl, and you put 600 volts to it, it will release the chlorine, the Cl, so you get chlorine. You get 2 hydrogens, an oxygen, and a sodium hydroxide that is then made into soap and bleach. And then if you mix the hydroxide back with the chlorine, you get bleach. They would take the hydrogen and we would burn it in a boiler, and then later started a hydrochloric acid plant. So you take the hydrogen, you would burn it in this vessel, and because chlorine is an oxidizer, it will burn, and then the vapors would condense into food-grade hydrochloric acid. And so hydrogen is a very important fuel in that you can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, but probably is the most volatile thing you've ever seen. I've been set on fire by hydrogen numerous times in my life working there. I worked there for 21 years. And so, most people didn't know that was being done. They tore that facility down about 2 years ago. The connection to Hoover Dam is still there, though, and I think the importance of this study can't be understated, because there is an opportunity there now to replace that facility, or even build a new facility that would run off of solar power, which, because the voltage from Hoover Dam was converted from AC to DC at 600 volts DC, had a pretty elaborate set of rectifiers and transformers, but it was done, and was the quantities, I can't understate how much was made there, literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because you couldn't shut down one part of the plant without shutting down the whole thing. And so I want to thank Senator Spearman, and on behalf of IBW 396 and 1245, we're very excited about this study, because hydrogen truly can be truly is going to be one of the energies of the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other callers to provide testimony and support?
Caller with the last three digits, 900. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair. I literally was in your committee an hour ago, and I stepped out for a meeting, so I'm calling in. This is Dan Musgrove, DanMusgrove, on behalf of the Building Trades of Nevada. I won't say much more than what has already been said. I think you heard a little bill yesterday that talked about how important mining is for rural communities, and our workers love job creation bills, and we support this and support the committee in passing this. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits, 529. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, this is Kenneth Evans, KENNETH President, Urban Chamber of Commerce. In addition to that, given the day that it is, I also want to make mention of the fact that I'm also a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel who served in Iraq in 2008, Afghanistan in 2010, as the civil engineering commander of both locations. And the significance of SCR 10 is that it will provide a renewable energy source once the study is completed and give us the information we need to move forward. So I want to say thank you very much to the Senate concurrent resolution sponsor, Senator Spearman. In addition to being a colleague in service, she's also been a huge proponent of renewable energy in terms of both the employment it can provide, but to the extent that our chamber focuses on the economic development opportunity as well. We have two priorities at the Urban Chamber. Number one, participate in the expansion and diversification of the Nevada economy. And then number two, make sure that there's diversity and inclusion in terms of our small, diverse businesses that we represent when you're doing number one. So for these two priorities, as well as in line with some of the things I may have been exposed to in my military service, we at the Urban Chamber of Commerce support SCR 10 and would encourage your support as well. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for your service. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits, 938. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller 938, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Chair Carlton and Vice Chair Danielle Moreno and members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, my name is Ariel Edwards, ARIELLEEDW ARDS with the City of North Las Vegas. We are in support of this measure and would like to thank Senator Spearman for bringing this bill forward. We urge its support of passage. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 150. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller 150, please press *6 to unmute. Chair, I'm going to come back to that caller in a minute.
Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 704. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Vice Chair Monroe Moreno and the committee. My name is Marie Steele, MARIE STEELE, and I'm here today to testify and support on behalf of NV Energy. Thank you to Senator Spearman for bringing this forward. We share the enthusiasm of the sponsor and presenters for clean energy development and zero emission transportation. I'll keep this short given the time. We look forward to the opportunity to study and discuss over the interim how hydrogen can further benefit the people of our state and the economy while advancing climate goals. Thank you again for your time today. That concludes our testimony in support of SCR 10.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 150. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller 150, please press *6 to unmute. Vice Chair, that is our last caller, and they seem to be having technical difficulties, so that's our last one.
Thank you so much. So we will move from support to opposition. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to provide testimony in opposition for SCR 10? Seeing none, do we have anyone joining us by Zoom who would like to provide testimony in opposition? Seeing none, do we have any callers on the line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of SCR 10?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SCR 10, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 533. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and Committee. This is Lisa Mosley, LEISA MOSELEY, and I was actually calling in support of SCR 10 and somehow missed getting in the queue. I won't take much of your time. I would just like to say ditto to all of the previous callers in support, particularly those comments of Mr. Ken Evans from the Urban Chamber of Commerce. And I want to say thank you to Senator Spearman for bringing this bill and to the committee for hearing it. So again, thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and we will make sure that your testimony is placed in the support column. Do we have anyone joining us on the phone that would like to provide testimony in opposition?
Vice Chair, that was our last caller in opposition.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone joining us here in the room that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. Reagan Comis with R&R Partners, representing the Nevada Mining Association. And I know we are short on time, so I'll just quickly thank Senator Spearman for working with us on this, and we are in neutral with the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else here in the room to provide testimony in the neutral, do we have anyone joining us by Zoom that would like to provide testimony in the neutral? Seeing none, do we have anyone joining us by telephone that would like to provide testimony in the neutral on SCR 10?
If you would like to testify in neutral on SCR 10, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 533, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller 533, please press star 6 to unmute.
Vice Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the committee, this is Dylan Sullivan from the Natural Resources Defense Council. That's DYLAN SULLIVAN, commenting in a neutral position on SCR 10 today because NRDC does not have an opinion on whether the Legislative Committee on Energy should study the issues that are outlined in the resolution. We would like to offer some brief comments on the resolution and green hydrogen. NRDC and many analysts of deep decarbonization believe that green hydrogen, and that's the type of hydrogen made by using renewable electricity sources like wind and solar. Many analysts believe that this green hydrogen will be an important energy carrier in the transition to a zero emissions economy. This is because green hydrogen allows us to transform renewable electricity into a fuel that can be used to decarbonize parts of the economy that are difficult to serve with electricity directly. Examples of that include long distance trucking, aviation, and industrial processes that require a lot of heat. Green hydrogen could also be used to store renewable electricity from season to season. But the benefits of hydrogen generally depend on how it is made, and different types of hydrogen are not created equal. 95% of the hydrogen produced today is so-called gray hydrogen, created from the steam reformation of the fossil fuel methane, also known as natural gas. This gray hydrogen produces no emissions when it is used in a fuel cell, but its production does release greenhouse gas emissions, and it's not a zero emissions fuel. NRDC was concerned during the resolution's initial hearing on May 6th at proponents' arguments about hydrogen, assigning to basically all colors of the hydrogen rainbow benefits that will only manifest if specific types of hydrogen are used in specific applications. And there may be other processes, such as the Nevada Climate Initiative, where the topic of green hydrogen's role in Nevada's energy future can be examined, especially in light of the state's goal to achieve zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments and joining us here today. Do we have any other callers to testify in the position of neutral?
Caller with the last 3 digits, 811. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, my name is Elspeth Cordua, and I am calling on behalf of Sierra Club, last name Cordua. I want to thank Mr. Sullivan for his testimony, and Sierra Club echoes that same sentiment. As our state transitions to 100% renewable energy generation by 2050, looking at all options will be critically important. But with that in mind, we urge the study to consider the use of green hydrogen that is produced with clean energy. Sierra Club does not support hydrogen that would extend the life of any fossil fuel generation in Nevada, and this is a very important distinction to make, as Mr. Sullivan suggested, when looking at the different types of hydrogen. So we're neutral and thank the sponsor for her time and consideration on this bill.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Do we have any other callers?
Vice Chair, that was our last caller in neutral.
Thank you so much. That ends our testimony. Senator Spearman, did you have any closing comments? Quick closing comments.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I appreciate all the callers calling in, support, neutral. And I want to emphasize again, and I kind of liken this to, sometimes people refuse to write a will. Just if you don't write a will, that doesn't mean you're not going to die. And given the fact that we already have an international company here, I think that it is prudent for us to study hydrogen to figure out exactly what is or is not good for the state as well as for the nation. Not to do so, I think, would be very irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on SCR 10. And since our chair is back, I will turn the gavel back over to the chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Got to go do a conference committee the first time in a decade. I think I've got to do a conference committee. So with that, I believe the next bill we need to work on, since Senator Spearman is here, Senator, don't leave. We have you here. We want to do one more, and then we'll go to our other budget bill. I would go ahead and open up the hearing on SB 163. Opening comments, Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you. I wasn't here for all of it, but I was here for about 10 years of it. So thank you for your 24 years of service to our country. Senate Bill 163 seeks to honor the contributions of what has now become commonly known as the Divine Nine. Those are the black fraternities and sororities. I think that it's important to note that as a state, I don't know that we've ever bestowed this type of honor on a black organization. And I think it's particularly poignant as today marks the 100th year anniversary of the Tulsa, Oklahoma fire in Greenwood, destroyed Greenwood. Some of the things that, and a lot of people think fraternities and sororities are just parties, but that's not really what we do. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I know every year we are asked to give money of our own or help raise money for scholarships. You look at Kappa Alpha Psi, they have the Kappa League that is a very, very valuable program, especially for young men who need guidance, and they take them under their wing. I want to say it's like for 2 years, and they have opportunities that they probably never would have had: travel, being introduced to various and sundry things. Those are two that come to mind right away. But we've also been involved in the civil rights movement. It's not known a whole lot, but many of the members of the Divine Nine participated in Selma March, participated in planning some of the sit-ins. I have a couple of friends who are now in their, I think, mid-80s, and anytime you see the picture of the students sitting at the lunch counter in Nashville, two of those are friends of mine, and they're members of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And what they did, they went to Tennessee State, and what they did, they decided as students, they decided as a part of the Greek organizations that they would lend their voice and support to that cause. They were started, Divine Nine, all these organizations were started at a time when black people couldn't go to white schools. And not only could we not go to white schools, but there were no real professional organizations that we could join. And so this was a way for our founders to say service to all of mankind, and we're going to make sure that we have, for lack of a better term, I'll say coalition, but we have a group of people who understand what it means to arrive at the party, but also make sure you're reaching back, getting others in. You may not know that Martin Luther King was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. His wife, Coretta Scott King, was a member of AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. And I could go on, but for brevity's sake, I'll give you my testimony that we had in the Senate. This is a very important bill because, as I said before, I don't know that we have ever, as a state, bestowed this type of an honor on a black organization. I have a amendment that the Vice Chair submitted. I think all of you all have a copy of it, and so that becomes part of the bill as well. That's all.
Thank you, Senator, very much. I'll go to Vice Chair if she'd like to discuss the amendment, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the the pleasure of being chair of Growth and Infrastructure, which is the committee during the legislative session that hears special license plate bills. But in the interim, I chair the Special License Plate Interim Committee. And as I looked at the bill, I was very concerned with the number of license plates. Before my service here in the legislature, I served in correctional law enforcement, and I hated seeing so many different plates in our state. You never know if it's truly a real plate or what, but having 9 plates was problematic for me. I agree with the senator that this plate is very important. So in my conversation with the senator and community members, I'm submitting a amendment to have 1 plate that recognizes all 9 of the Divine 9 and splitting the proceeds from the revenue that would be generated to go 10% to the United Negro College Fund and the remaining 90% to be divided equally with the 9 Divine 9 organizations. And it would add, because Senator Assemblyman Frierson, Speaker Frierson, and I have been working hard to get to this, add myself and Assemblyman Speaker Frierson as primary co-sponsors.
So committee members, questions? Dr. Titus?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for being at the table. Thank you for your service and your compassion and your dedication to Nevada. Vice Chair, the question really is directed to you on the distribution of the funds. And certainly I am supportive of this. I think it's a great concept. I think people will have the option if they choose to buy this plate. My question is, how many of these, it looks like one of these is actually a chapter in Nevada, and the other 9, they're still, number 1, are they still all in existence? And number 2, is there only one of these that are actually in Nevada at this point in time?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
The Divine 9, as listed in the bill, all have chapters in the state of Nevada, all of them.
And so the money, follow-up, Madam Chair?
Sure.
So the money would be just to these chapters that are in Nevada?
Correct.
And the only stuff that then would be distributed on a nationwide basis would be to the United Negro College Fund? That's
Correct.
a national organization.
Correct. And if you look in Section 2B, it specifically states that which must be distributed to the following for the promotion of community awareness and the actions through educational, economic, and cultural service activities within this state.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, and thank you, Vice Chair, for working on this, knowing how I feel about license plates. She was very brave to even approach me. So, Mr. Levitt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is more towards the fiscal note. It looks like the fiscal note was removed. The DMV has agreed to donate hours, and I just didn't know how that worked. I wasn't aware that the DMV could donate hours to a certain cause. I agree with the concept in creation of the plate and realize that there's a cost associated with it anytime we do that. However, I just wondered how that worked, where a government entity could donate time and effort. How does that work?
Well, Mr. Levitt, before Ms. Moreno answers, and I think her answer is going to be more succinct, mine would be to you that there are a number of times when folks come to us and say that they believe that they can absorb something if they feel that they have the capacity to be able to absorb it. So I would assume that was probably the discussion around that. But also, Ms. Monroe Moreno will clarify exactly where this fiscal note stands right now.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. In response to Assemblyman Levitt's question, the fiscal note that is on NELA's is the fiscal note that was associated with the original bill. So the fiscal note has not been adjusted. The DMV, as I understand it in my communications with the DMV and with Senator Spearman, the amount that they would have had on the fiscal note did not meet our threshold. That's why you see a 0 balance.
Thank you, that clarifies. Thank you so much.
So for clarification, as the bill is proposed to be amended, the impact to DMV would be less than the $2,000 threshold, which would have brought it to Ways and Means to begin with.
So just for clarification, Madam Chair, so the DMV is going to do the work and is going to be compensated for that work. It just doesn't meet the threshold of, is that correct? Am I?
Correct.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I believe Sean Severs from DMV is on the phone as well if there are any questions.
We'll go there if we need to. Ms. Gorlow?
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick chair to see if this plate would be required to maintain the 1,000 plate minimum, and if so, how long would they have to reach that level?
I believe it would comply with all other special license plates, so this would not exempt them from any other criteria that any other special license plate would have to go through. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Are there any other questions from any other committee members at this time? I'm not seeing any other questions, so this would be the hearing for SB 163 with the proposed amendment. So I'll go ahead and open up the hearing on that. Is there anyone in the room in support of SB 163? Not seeing anyone at this time. Anyone on Zoom? Seeing no one on Zoom. Anyone on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in support on SB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 529. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller, you are unmuted on our end. Is it possible your phone is muted?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kenneth Evans, KENNTHEVANS, an individual member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, as well as a community member in the state of Nevada. What I would like to say is that I'm calling to support SB 163 for the reasons stated. Our fraternities and sororities contribute greatly to the Nevada community, and this represents an excellent opportunity to provide resources as well as recognition for us to continue that service. So for those reasons, I support SB 163 and thank the bill sponsor, Senator Spearman, as well as the co-sponsors, Assemblywoman Monroe Monrino, or Vice Chair Monroe Monrino, as well as Speaker Jayton Fireson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. The next person in support, please.
Chair, that was our last caller in support.
Okay, thank you very much. So is there anyone in opposition in the room? Seeing no one on Zoom, anyone in opposition on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers on the line in opposition.
Thank you very much. So with that, we will go to neutral. Anyone in neutral in the room? Seeing none, no one on Zoom. Anyone in neutral on the phone line, please.
If you would like to testify neutral on SB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no, pardon me, we have one caller.
In neutral, please proceed.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 427. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, Chair. Sean Sever from the DMV, SEANSEVER. First of all, I wanted to thank the bill sponsor for working with us on this bill, and also thank her for her service today. And Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you for all of your service to the state of Nevada, and you will be missed. I just wanted to clarify the fiscal note. The discussion was correct that there are programming hours on the fiscal note, but it is under our $2,000 threshold. So the result is a zero impact fiscal note. And we look forward to working with the senator on these plates if this bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sever. We appreciate that. So Any other callers in neutral on the phone line, please?
Chair, that was our last caller in neutral.
All right, so with that, I believe we can go ahead and bring it back to the committee. I don't think we need any other comments at this time, so committee members, that amendment is there. We'll be processing this quickly because with amendments, we need to keep things moving. So with that, the next bill that needs to be addressed this morning, where did my agenda go? Oh, it's right here. Is, sorry about that, guys. I do that all the time. SB 461. So let me preface the conversation and then I'll go to Ms. Kaufman. So the conversation around the rescue dollars that we have been discussing very, very deeply in this building through this whole session, trying to figure out, first it was when are we going to get the guidance? How is this going to work? How do you just submit the documents through the portal? Where are we actually with this? Because we know these dollars are going to have a significant impact on the state of Nevada. We also know that those dollars are, it's day 120, those dollars are not here, but we still know that we have priorities in the state that we want to make sure that can be addressed and that the legislature doesn't slow the process down. That we can set a set of priorities so we can give some guidance and work towards making sure that a lot of those tough discussions we had about cuts and making sure that families were still served and were helped to succeed and get through these economic hard times, we don't necessarily need to come back and come together for a day or two to do that. There is a process by which we can set this up to set our priorities, to allow these dollars to hit the ground running as soon as they're here, and we won't slow the process up. So that is the impetus behind SB 461. It's being called the waterfall bill. And basically, we are setting our priorities to say, as the money comes in, these are the things that we feel the most strongly about. I've said many, many times, your budget is a reflection of where your moral compass is and where you need to go. So with that, I'm going to open up to Ms. Kaufman to walk through the bill and then have discussion with the committee members on the bill itself. Ms. Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 461 provides priorities for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds as follows. Calculates lost revenue and deposits into the general fund. $335 million for the repayment of unemployment compensation funds. $20,900,000 for behavioral health related services. $7.6 million for food insecurity. In addition, the priorities include disbursement for other purposes, including increasing access to health care, strengthening public education, strengthening Nevada's workforce, investing in infrastructure, and modernizing and enhancing state government services.
Thank you so much. I was really glad to see this here, the disbursement of the $335 million to repay the advances received on the unemployment compensation fund. And so just to be clear, is that going to help us with kind of some solvency issues? Or I know that we had talked at one point about, I think we had authorized ourselves to take a loan if we needed to for the unemployment fund, but could you walk through a little bit about how this impacts that?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to the Majority Leader. The amount that's provided in 2A would essentially pay back the loan that the state of Nevada has on its unemployment compensation fund. Currently, it is roughly around, I believe, $331 million. However, there's just a little bit of a cushion in there in the event that it exceeds it. So it essentially brings us, the state to zero. So you may recall prior to the pandemic, there was close to $2 billion in that UI trust fund. So this essentially just brings it right back to essentially not having a loan out.
Thank you so much. And then, so as a follow-up for our businesses that pay into that trust fund, there was concern about rates having to go up in order to recoup that, and we're essentially taking care of that for them with this allocation of the federal money. So I know we heard some great concern from business and small business about their rates going up, and so that won't happen, correct?
Madam Chair, through you to the majority leader. So that is correct. The rates won't go up as a result of having to pay back the UI trust.
And if I could just elaborate on that a little bit, in the last fiscal crisis we were in, we had to take those loans also, and we ended up the folks at Dieter came up with a unique solution to where we bonded it out and then they paid it back, and we got it paid back, but it still ended up impacting all the small employers, nonprofits, anyone that actually does business in this state that has employees. This has an impact. So this will be one of the small things that we can do to not have that one more thing added on to that bill as everyone is trying to climb out of the pandemic and get back to square one in the future. This will be one way to lessen those impacts of the pandemic on everyone who pays into this fund. So with that, the next question from Mr. Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first off, I agree with you 110% there. I think that it's imperative that we help our small businesses and nonprofits right now. And I just had a question for Ms. Kaufman. I don't know if I heard the number correct, but I believe you said the UI Trust was it you said $2 billion? I just didn't quite hear it.
Madam Chair, through you to Assemblyman Hafen. Yes, that is correct. At its peak, I believe in 2019, it was at $2 billion.
Okay, so with that, questions from other committee members. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in the same line of questioning, the majority leader covered my questions exactly. I'm just curious as to, as we're at zero or a little less than zero, actually we'll be on the positive, what's the rate of that climbing back up? I mean, I know it's a variable, but obviously we were seeing it start going back up. That's why we went with this amount. So do you have an approximate of kind of where it's going on the positive route?
Ms. Kaufman?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Assemblyman Roberts. We have been monitoring that. It appears that we're at an area where we're just about break even at this point. That said, things could change and you could go into a loaning scenario again. That's not to say that this is going to be the beginning of a climbing or a savings into our trust fund again. And so this would essentially break even at this particular point in time.
And if I could just elaborate on that, the way you solve the unemployment trust fund issues is putting people back to work. And we've had a number of pieces of legislation in this building that are going to help people get back to work. And they set the rates every year, so we're hoping that the indicators for the next year will guide them towards a rate that will, if you stop and think about it, our unemployment rate was 15, 16, 7, it just kept growing and growing and growing. We don't think we're going to see that again in the near future. Hopefully we'll stay in 7, 8, and 9. Those impacts would be much smaller spread across the employer base and in the state than when we had close to 30% unemployment. So this is dealing with that drastic hit that we had for those 6 months. I believe we'll have a more stable employment system over the next year and a half, and we will go back to a more normal rate that we would see being adjusted in those conversations in the future.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. And on another just curious note, so as ARP funding becomes available, and let's say we start to have to dip back in and loan money, we could actually replenish that in the interim more and bring that up to speed more if that were the case on the executive.
I'll let Ms. Kaufman address that.
Madam Chair, through you to Assemblyman Roberts, yes, that is correct. I believe in the guidance it indicates that the UI trust could be paid back to pre-pandemic levels.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the questions and all the follow-up. Appreciate it.
Okay, no, and that's fine, keeping in mind that this is a balancing act, and there was a lot of harm done across the state in all different sectors, and we're trying to make an impact on all of the different sectors. So, committee members, are there any other questions of any of the other items that are listed? I'm not seeing any at this time. So with that, this would be the hearing for Senate Bill 461. I'll go ahead and open it up for hearing purposes. Is there anyone in the room in support of Senate Bill 461? Please come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee, and I promise this will be the last time you'll see me today. I just want to say, I'm sorry, Shane Piccinini, Food Bank of Northern Nevada. It's been a long 150 days. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of 3 Square, thank you for all of the work that you have done for food security this session. I just came back from the bill signing for SB 370, the Food Purchase Plan. Seriously, the work that you have done for us this session and prior sessions has literally saved people's lives. It has helped keep families together, and the additional funding and this bill is going to allow us to continue to navigate the uncharted waters as we continue to recover from not only a coronavirus pandemic, but also a housing crisis. So I am incredibly grateful, and I thank all of you for your time this session.
And thank you for all of your work, because we know what the last year has been like, and we know who stepped up and got the work done. So thank you, and all your staff and all your volunteers that were there for long hours making sure families were fed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, Mr. Daly.
Madam Chair, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, in support of SB 461. Making disbursements of important American Rescue Plan dollars, including funds to strengthen public education in Nevada. Some comments generally about the federal relief funds. So the federal elementary and secondary school emergency relief, or ESSER funds, will provide financial relief for school districts to address the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the more flexible American Rescue Plan dollars can help our schools be even stronger over the coming years, improving the quality of education for every Nevada student. We applaud the leadership of the Biden administration, congressional leadership, for making these dollars available. We also want to acknowledge the work of Nevada's congressional delegation, along with our parent, the National Education Association. Leading up to the passage of the ARP, NEA members wrote hundreds of thousands of messages, placed thousands of phone calls to their representatives, resulting in the single largest investment ever in education. While we played a central role in the passage of the funds, we continue to be concerned about the inclusion of educator voice in the development of programming of these federal funds, whether they be ESSER or these funds made available here in Nevada by SB 461. ARP ESSER actually requires states to have a process for stakeholder input that expressly includes school staff and their unions. We stand ready to provide constructive input on proposed allocations, would appreciate any consideration in this process moving forward. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Daly, but I'm a little confused because what you just spoke about really isn't about this bill, but more about the rescue plan dollars in general, is my understanding.
Well, Madam Chair, I was addressing both ESSER dollars, but also the dollars to be made available through this bill in the line item to strengthen public education in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler, and I'm with you at this moment as a member of the NAMI Policy Committee, and I'm speaking to the line that addresses disadvantaged communities in the bill. But we believe this bill establishes an important framework for assisting communities that have been particularly affected by the pandemic, and that certainly includes individuals with mental illness and co-occurring disorder, and emergency and transitional and affordable and permanent supportive housing for these communities is extremely important. So thank you very much for your support of the bill. And Madam Chair, I just want to say, in addition to your amazing service for 24 years, you have been giving amazing service this session in education to your colleagues and how to run this show. And I feel,
And I'm sure they're so grateful.
they better be, because they're going to live past you, and we need this function. And you've done a great job at that. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. With that, Ms. Bells. Oh,
I'm just
Just
sorry,
a
Madam
moment.
Chair.
Mr. Speaker?
I think on the last day, it's just bad luck to talk about people outliving you. So you're going to be with us forever.
Okay, so with that, Ms. Bells, save me from this, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jeanette Bells on behalf of the Nevada Psychiatric Association. In brief, page 2, lines 14 and 15, thank you very much for including mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment and other behavioral health services. Very important post-pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Benjamin Chalnor, representing Policy Director for Faith in Action Nevada. The portion that mirrors the Every Nevadan framework, that's extremely important to us because our communities have been devastated by the pandemic, and this bill is the first step to making sure that we are not only able to get them to where they were before, but making sure that they're able to thrive past this pandemic. So thank you so much, and we look forward to moving forward with this bill and making sure that funding gets to those who need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room in support? Seeing no one else at this time. Anyone in support on Zoom? Seeing no one, anyone in support on the phone line, please.
If you would like to testify in support on SB 461, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers on the line in support.
Thank you very much. We will go to opposition. Any opposition in the room? Seeing none, no opposition on Zoom. Any opposition on the phone line, please?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 461, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers on the line in opposition.
Thank you very much. Anyone in neutral in the room? Seeing none. Anyone in neutral on Zoom? Seeing none. Anyone in neutral on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in neutral on SB 461, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in the line on neutral.
Thank you very much. So with that, committee members, any other questions or comments as we move forward? Seeing none, we will go ahead and close the hearing on SB 461. Everybody just stand at ease for just a moment. Don't leave the room. Right, committee members, so there are amendments in the queue for some of our previous work that need to be reviewed. So we're going to go ahead and move some things now to keep everything going, and then we're going to need to recess to allow staff to go through the other amendments to make sure that they can get to the floor in time to be able to be adopted and get back to the north end of the building. So with that, let's go ahead and take care of some bills and get them out of here. So I believe the first bill that I would like to discuss, because it has an amendment and needs to be dealt with, would be SB 163. Ms. Kaufman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 163 provides the issuance of special license plates to support the Divine Nine organizations, which are historically black collegiate fraternities and sororities. There was a fiscal note that was provided on this related to programming hours. However, the Department of Motor Vehicles indicated that it can absorb the impact to that. There was also a conceptual amendment that was proposed by Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, which identifies how the proceeds from the license plates should be dispersed among the Divine Nine organizations, as well as to the United Negro College Fund, and also adds Assemblyman Frierson as well as Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno as sponsors to the bill.
So with that, committee members, we just discussed this. Are there any other questions at this time? Not seeing any other questions, this would be an amendment to pass with a proposed amendment from Vice Chair. I'll take a motion from Speaker Frierson, a second from Assemblywoman Hodeggy. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. With that, I believe we need to go to SB 460. This is one of our things that we need to get done today. So SB 460, Ms. Kaufman?
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 460 adds back expenditures that were proposed in the executive budget to be eliminated. However, based off of revised revenue estimates, are recommended as this add back bill.
So committee members, we just walked through that one just a little bit ago, had conversations about it. Are there any questions on one of my favorite things to do is add back money? Seeing none, with that, there were no proposed amendments. This would be a due pass. I'll take a due pass from Ms. Monroe Moreno, a second from Ms. Bedias Thompson. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. We will move to SB 461.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 461 requires the transfer to the State General Fund of coronavirus, state and local recovery funds based off of lost revenues, as well as provides a prioritization list of the expenditure of these coronavirus, state and local fiscal recovery funds.
Thank you very much. So committee members, we just had a conversation about this. This is affectionately known as our waterfall bill. So are there any comments? Hearing none. With that, I would accept a motion to do pass from Ms. Monroe Moreno, a second from Ms. Beditas Thompson. Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the members present. Hold on for just a moment, and we'll see what else. Okay, committee members, the next bill that we will discuss is SB 341.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 341, as amended, relates to racial equity, It authorizes the Division of Public and Behavioral Health and of the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for available grants to address disparities in healthcare and specifically related to kidney diseases that are based off of race. There was a fiscal note that was provided by the Division of Public and Behavioral Health. However, as amended, there would be zero fiscal impact for this bill.
And thank you very much. And committee members, I apologize. I was out of the room for this one. So Ms. Monroe Moreno, did you have any comments to make on the bill? No? No comments necessary? Are there any questions on SB 341 as we move forward? Not seeing any questions. So with that, I believe it would be a do pass, Ms. Kaufman. So I would accept a motion to do pass SB 341 from Ms. Monroe Moreno, second from Ms. Benitez Thompson. Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously of the I'm sorry, what? Did I miss someone? Was there someone in opposition? Okay, I apologize. Sometimes I put my head down and don't glance as far right as I need to. So with that, it does pass unanimously of the members present. So with that, moving on to Senate Bill 377.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 377, as amended, would allow Clark County Child Welfare, Washoe County Child Welfare, and Rural Child Welfare to retain unexpended general fund appropriations for adoption subsidy payments at the end of each fiscal year. The funds would be allowed to balance forward for 1 year, be available for general child welfare services, and revert to the general fund if unexpended by the end of the second year. Balance forward funds would be utilized to meet federal adoption subsidy reinvestment requirements.
Okay, committee members, we did have a conversation about this very early this morning. I had a lot more concerns at that moment in time than I have right now. I believe with the conversation on the reporting and coming to IFC and all the, that I think there's some safeguards built into this. I still have concerns about allowing an agency to roll dollars forward, but we know what they're trying to accomplish, and I believe currently we may be out of compliance with the federal government at this time, so I think we need to do whatever we can to come into compliance. I would suggest to the committee that a letter of intent go out on this so that we get all the reporting that would be necessary. Ms. Kaufman, did I need to give you any more detail on the letter of intent than that, or?
No, Madam Chair, I believe that's sufficient.
And I'll make sure that it has all the concerns that we discussed addressed in that letter of intent as we move forward. So with that, committee members, are there any questions on SB 377? Seeing none, with that, I believe this would be a do pass, correct? So I would accept a motion to do pass SB 377 from Ms. Monroe Moreno, a second from Ms. Benitez Thompson. Any questions or comments on the motion? My only comment is, this better work, and we better not find out somebody's messing with it. That's all I've got to say. So, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing none. Passes unanimously of the members present. But we're going to watch this. Okay. So with that, I believe we have addressed everything that we need to move at this time to make sure that things are lined up in the right order. So we do have amendments that need to be reviewed. So it would be my intention, Majority Leader Speaker, to recess committee right now to allow that work to get done and floor work to get done, knowing that we will be in and out of this room all day long. So don't anybody wander too far away, okay?
And I think just to highlight your point, to quell anxiety, that we're giving staff time to review amendments. I know everyone's asking, well, when's my bill move? When's my bill moving? And we have legals working hard. They're drafting amendments. We have to have staff check them and double check them you know? And so we just appreciate everyone's patience as we're working through that process.
The last thing we want to do on the last day is add the wrong amendment to the wrong bill. And it's not like I haven't done it before. So, with that, we are in recess.